Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask an Engineer. It's me, Ladyada the engineer, with me, Mr. Ladyada on camera control. We just got off doing show and tell.
Long show to tell.
A couple minutes late, but it's because it was so good.
All worth it.
We're going to talk about it, but it's also going to be up on YouTube in a minute. Let's get right to it, Mr. Ladyada. What's the code and what's on tonight's show?
Code is switched, 10% off the native for Star all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Use it or lose it. You also get free stuff along the way. We'll talk about some of our live shows, including show and tell, which we just did. Some Desk of Ladyada, including the Great Search. Got JP's product pick of the week highlight. We're going to do some factory footage. We got some 3D printing. We got INMPI, brought to you by DigiKey. This week it is Triad. We got a bunch of top secret. We got new products. We're answering your questions. We do that on Discord, adafruit.it/discord, discord.gg/Adafruit. That is where we answer your questions. We also have some Adafruit.io news, some Adabox news, all that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Okay.
Okay, so Lady Ada, when people buy stuff, what do they get?
When you buy from adafruit.com, you get freebies and you get also the warm feeling of supporting us, which is
Yeah.
awesome because
It's nice.
we don't have VC or loans or funding. And
No.
so we kind of make money by selling good electronics and then giving some of it away.
We sell you things without selling you out.
Yeah, we don't even, we're not even selling our data to OpenAI. Apparently that's the cool thing to do this week.
Yeah.
Sorry, $99 or more, you get a free PCB coaster with this beautiful Adafruit gold logo on it. You get little bumpers too, so it doesn't scratch your desk. I have one on my desk. It keeps my desk from getting little rings on it when I put my coffee on there. $149 or more, you'll get a KB2040 microcontroller board. This is a lovely little board, features an RP2040 chip, has 8 megabytes of flash, stomach QT, a button, a NeoPixel, and USB Type-C. It's Pro Micro Pinout compatible, which means it's a great upgrade for those Pro Micro projects that want CircuitPython or Arduino and lots more RAM and flash and memory. $199 or more, free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. That's trackable, insured, and wonderful. And we still are giving away $299 or more Circuit Playground Express all-in-one electronics dev board with the SAMD21. It runs Arduino or CircuitPython or MicroPython or Code.org CS Discoveries or MakeCode, and it's got NeoPixel and buttons and sensors and LEDs and capacitive touch and everything. It's a great way to learn coding and electronics without needing to do any soldering. Just plug it in and you're ready to go.
Okay, great. And don't forget, code switch. And you use those together. A little bit of news. We are returning to the Adabox as we talked about last year. And our goal was
Did we do it?
Yeah, our goal was to get some out by the end of 2023, which is a couple months ago. And then we shipped thousands, a few thousand, in fact. And
Many
I
thousand.
can say that we're pretty much ready to take on your subscription. So if you want an Adabox, here's what you can do. You can go to adabox.com right now.
Yep.
We're going to make a few. We're still giving some folks some time to update their credit card and addresses. But for the folks who don't, we can't get a hold of them. We will cancel subscription. Sorry. You can always subscribe again, but we want to make room because there's been a long waiting list. So go to adabox.com and let me see if I have adabox.com here.
There's
Yeah. So you can go to adabox.com. We also have our unboxing date on here. It's March 20th. There's going to be a live video and more. And we have the latest and greatest. So
it's a secret.
Yeah, so we'll be updating the text on here shortly, but we're giving folks just a little bit more time because, you know, as during part shortage,
Yes,
was it possible to ship Ada boxes?
I will say, if you have a subscription and you got a notice, or first off, if you have not received your Ada box shipment notification,
email support at
email support at Adafruit, because we have shipped every subscription that was from like previous to a week ago. If you just signed up yesterday, it might take a couple days to ship. But if you have just been subscribed for more than a week and you've not gotten your shipping notice yet, email support at Adafruit, because chances are your credit card maybe has an issue, or your address has an issue. You need to fix it. And then we have your Ada box sitting, waiting patiently to go out. Yeah. And then you have until I think the 8th to update your address or credit card. Otherwise, you're going to release your subscription and let somebody else sign up.
Okay.
It's
And
limited.
thanks.
And we always fill up.
Yeah. Thanks, folks, for also letting us know you got your Ada boxes in the chat. Okay. We do a bunch of live shows. We hosted the show and tell this week. It was packed. It was a good week to do show and tell. Thank you, Adafruit team, who have been hosting. We alternate Melissa, JP, Liz, thanks for that. So Jay stopped by with a new bot that was Digit.
Yeah, it has like a little head tracking
Really
thing.
cool. So yeah, using uh I guess what sensor?
Accelerometer.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
accelerometer to kind of keep. If you've ever seen the videos of like chickens where you're kind of like
So you
hold
move
a
the
chicken and move
chicken.
its head, yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
like that.
It's like that, but with a robot.
Yeah, Mohit showed the M2 or M.2
Particle.
boards. Yeah, particle boards. If you want to see the latest and greatest from Particle, check it out. Also, some circuit sculptures. Melissa showed a C4 emulator. Liz showed a really cool, I think, good use of some of these AI tools. You take a picture with the open source Memento, you send it off to an AI service and you say describe this photo and it sends you back
Text. Yeah.
it sends you back alt text. Really good use in you actually don't see a lot of demos like this because there's so much involved, but this we actually show you step by step. You can see the code. There's no metadata attached to the photo. It's a photo you want to take, and she took a photo of a little dinosaur on a table and it's like that's a little yellow dinosaur on a table.
Yeah,
Get in the right
she took a
format.
photo of like a fidget toy, and it was like you took a photo of a little
Yeah.
like toy thing. It was actually and it can read text. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah, if I was someone who was doing an AI device company, I would just show that demo. Of course, it wouldn't be their product, but it actually captures what AI can do. And I know, like I said in the show and tell, I know there's polarizing extremist opinions like it's going to kill us all. It stole everything. There's also uses of technology. Any technology can be used for bad. When you send off this photo, it looks at it and it sends back alt text that can be used for all sorts of things like accessibility or describing what's on the photo,
Like anomaly detection.
all sorts of things.
Yeah, could be.
And it's all under your control. It's not being used in a way you don't know about it. So, anyways, check it out if you're interested in this stuff. Sun and Moon LED fashion show. Lots of cool photos
Yeah.
from Fashion Week, and probably one of the best collections of what's going on with very colorful, interesting LED wear. Um, it was great to get kind of
Frostbite would have loved this shit.
a front seat.
Yeah.
We couldn't make it to the fashion show this year,
Yeah.
but that was cool. Mark showed off the USB HID interfaces using CircuitPython for a flight simulator. That was neat.
That's very cool.
Showed off a display adapter for QT using CircuitPython. And Nanographs showed off amazing live video of a microscope going into like
There was
sub
yeah, it
millimeters.
was a thermal camera. So he like zoomed in and they showed how they cut a hole in the thermal camera
Yeah.
with the beam, and then also a MEMS microphone. I just like love it, and it's so fast, and the quality is amazing.
Yeah. And electronics are kind of sealed away, and even if you open them up now, it's like, well, what are those things? So we're gonna have them back. Put in your requests in the chat and also
Yeah.
reach out to them. They
We'll
also have a
sponsor-
kit that
we'll-
they're selling soon. There's a lot of stuff that they're doing.
We'll sponsor, like we'll send them the parts,
Yeah.
and then they can blast holes in them.
Yeah. So anyways, really neat, and I don't think there's anything else like this.
Yeah.
Very fun show and tell.
Neat.
On Sundays we just Desk of Ladyada. It's in 2 parts. What was the first part you showed this week?
Okay, so this week I talked a lot about cowbell design. I designed like a whole. Some weeks I get to design a lot of hardware, and then like other weeks I'm like, how did I find time to design all that hardware? But I don't know. I snuck it in somehow.
Yeah.
I designed a whole bunch of cowbell boards, camera cowbell, doubler, single terminal block. I just showed off a couple of design decisions on cowbells, and we'll be getting back to the cowbell party real soon. Ding, 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 ding.
Okay, and then we also have Great Search where you help find things on digikey.com. What was the part that you showed off and found this week?
Okay, so this week one of the boards that I showed off has battery charging built in, and so I was like, oh, I never covered the simple resistor, set battery charger chips that I use, the MCP 73831 dash 2CI02. And so I thought I would talk about them, all the different variants, and a couple other options. I use this chip, but there's actually other chips that might also work really well for you. So check those out. And also give a recommendation, to use officially manufactured and designed LiPo charger chips, because that's what I do. I think it's a good idea. Like some stuff, it's like, oh, you can use gray market, but I would always say, like, if you're charging batteries, you want to make sure you're charging them with a proper charger chip.
Okay. And then just a programming note for the folks who've wanted Raspberry Pis, we have them in stock. I know that
we just put some in today.
We put some in stock, and you just have to make two-factor authentication. There's still people who bought Raspberry Pis and haven't got them on other sites because they did back orders and it was that's it. That's how it works. We only put them in stock if we have them. So if you want to go to adafruit.com, you can get a Raspberry Pi 5, 8
Right now.
gigabyte right now.
We also have like Pi. Sorry, we have 02Ws, I think, as well.
Oh. All right. And then on Tuesdays, we do JP's product pick of the week. Here is this week's highlight.
The Power BFF, and we have the Neo RGB stemma. I have the Cutie Pie plugged into the Power BFF. Power BFF is mounted to one of our little swirly grids. I have a 12-volt power supply plugged into the Power BFF. That is supplying power to the Cutie Pie, 5 volts that it needs, power and ground from the Power BFF over the stemma cable to the Neo RGB stemma board. And the white wire there is actually running to one of my GPIO pins, so that is sending NeoPixel signals. It thinks there's a NeoPixel there. But what you can see this happening here is my RGB strip is plugged into the red, green, and blue and common anode lines running through color fading demo. A single color, and now we can go through and just set it to individual colors. Is the Power BFF for Cutie Pie and the Neo RGB stemma.
JP's workshop tomorrow, and then either Scott or Tim will be doing deep dive on Friday. Let's do some Python on hardware. This comes from our newsletter. Lots of stuff this week. You have your pick of the week. You can check out all the latest and greatest. There is a MicroPython update. There is a CircuitPython 9.
Beta, we're getting a lot more bugs. Thanks everybody for putting those in.
Yeah.
We had 7 bugs, and apparently now we're up to 14 bugs, which is actually good because it means people are testing stuff and opening.
Tips for running a Raspberry Pi for a long period of time. Lots and lots and lots of news about Python, especially if you're thinking of picking a programming language. There's some things that we have. We usually have what employers are looking for, or if you're thinking about data sciences, Python's a pretty good choice. So we have those. But this week, highlight of the week, Ladyada, you had this one. It's project of the week, making a MIDI.
2 things. There was 2 audio projects.
Yeah.
So this is the MIDI kalimba, which I just thought was cool because I love people using the MIDI and HID and capacitive capabilities that we have in CircuitPython. 3 things that are not available in some other Python, MicroPython like versions for the Pico. And so I think I love it when people are using like what CircuitPython is really good at, which is USB devices. And then there's another project. If you go scroll down, popular, keep going, 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 keep going. Keep. Yeah, it was well.
Look at all this content.
I know there's so much content. It was the. Oh my God! Sorry, there's so much. There's a lot of projects. There's another thing. I don't remember what it was. It was the. Now I feel bad. I should have given you the link. There was the MIDI synth, and then there was the project that was like the synthesizer. I feel bad. I don't remember. I'll keep going.
Yeah, we're committed.
I'm committed. I'm not going to give us a popular new nets. It was one of the projects. There's Memento, Web Workflow, the Gemini, Micro Wake Word, Hourglass. I thought it was. Oh, there was. Yeah, the Synth Sandbox. Yeah, can you go to this?
Okay, we're gonna go.
So this was kind of cool. So this is, we had the synth IO capability in CircuitPython, and this is a person who like actually made like a synthesizer out of it. And like they made a library that makes it easier to use synth IO to like they have a keyboard PCB with like battery, and they use a Pico. And then they overclock it and stuff. So I think it's neat because it's like we did synth IO, and I was like, I hope somebody makes a synthesizer out of this, and somebody did.
Yeah.
And it's
just goes to show you how big the newsletter is.
It's so big, I can't find stuff.
It was, so check it out. You can look at it on Adafruit Daily. You can get it in your inbox. We do not spam. Subscribe. You can get it on GitHub. We also have a permalink. We have an RSS feed and more. That's Python hardware for the week. Okay, for open source hardware news, open source hardware and more, we have a call to action for Adafruit IO, because this is the section we usually have a bunch of talk about what we were doing in open source and open source hardware. Just like we did with CircuitPython, for 2024.
Yeah,
We have,
but we're like a little bit late, but that's okay.
well,
Fashionably.
we want to do the same thing where we're like, hey, like what type of things do you want to see? So you can go check out our blog post, and we mirrored it or mimic the CircuitPython 2024 post where the developers and designers of Adafruit.io can get a chance to hear from you. So we can develop all the features you want for Adafruit.io.
And here's some ideas,
Yeah.
stuff that we're going to work
So
on.
low power mode, whippersnapper on more boards, revamped actions, iOS app, Raspberry Pi and Python support, and your feedback. So
Yeah.
um,
Do these sound cool?
yeah,
What other
do you want
things
the
do you
stuff?
want to see?
Yeah, and you can tag us. You can put it in the forums.
We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, you can also email iotnews@adafruit.com, and we'll add all these to our list. And just let us know what type of things you're doing with IoT and what type of things you want to see from Adafruit. So check it out. It is on.
Yeah,
the
a lot of
blog
this is like
right now.
whippersnapper, but some of the things are affect IO and not just whippersnapper. So they're kind of they're BFFs, right?
Yeah.
Like the actions you've seen, we've done Blockly actions, the iOS app. We're actually working on a simplified app right now. Raspberry Pi and Python support. We have Adafruit.io support for Python, but we want to add whippersnapper support also. So
Yeah,
we can actually have a
we'll talk about it in a minute.
plug and play Raspberry Pi as like a whippersnapper device.
Yeah. But keep in mind, we're not doing this for shareholders or to monetize your data or to sell it. We're
Again, we're not
this,
playing to OpenAI. We're like the only
yeah,
ones.
it's not Mid-Journey or anything like that. So what we're
me.
doing is we want to hear from you. If there's features you want in an IoT service built for users, it's free. That's what we're here for. So please check it out and let our team know. If you know the history of CircuitPython, a lot of the features that people ask for, they get. Other little bits of open source hardware news before we go into the guides. We certified more open source hardware, so we're up to 736
Oh, that's great.
altogether out of 2,722.
Okay.
So there's a lot.
Yeah.
So 736 altogether. So we'll continue to certify our hardware. Doesn't matter if you're doing open source hardware, but it is a signal and a symbol, and all that stuff's up there. I know there's the trend of companies saying something's open source, it's really not, or saying it's open source hardware and it's really not, or just deciding not to do open source hardware, or requiring NDAs. All these things, that's not open source hardware. We're doing open source hardware, so that's where we put our open source hardware certifications.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we also have guides for all this. We're almost up to 3,000 guides, Ladyada.
Okay. How many guys do we have?
How many guides do we have?
Yeah,
like 2,980 or something like that.
Okay.
Okay.
We have 3 new ones this week.
What's on the big board this week?
Okay. So this week, new projects, we've got Tyeth wrote a guide on using Blockly for actions in Adafruit.io. This is actually kind of cool and kind of a big deal. And so if you use Adafruit.io, right, you're using our cloud service to get data from your device to Adafruit.io, the free cloud service that we run. So like sensor data or button presses or whatever back and forth is bidirectional. But then maybe you want to have something happen, like when my temperature and humidity get below 20 degrees and above 80% humidity, I want you to send me an SMS. Or when this feed goes on, I want to update this other feed to turn on a buzzer. You want something to happen. If something, then something. And people, we have a tie for Zapier and if this and that, but folks who use the services quickly know that there's a delay of 15 minutes, which makes a lot of if this and that and Zapier kind of like frustrating to use unless you're willing to pay them a bunch of money. So what we have now, what we've had for a bit is actions, which is the ability to say like, when a feed goes above a value, send me an email. But that was like very specialized. It was like a form and you could only like pick certain things in the form and you couldn't you didn't have any flexibility. You couldn't say if the humidity is above 20 and the temperature is below 30, or you couldn't do any math, or you couldn't have delays or times or comparisons. And you couldn't compare 2 feeds together, for example. You could only have feed compared to a number or something. And so one of the cool things that we thought of was well, we don't want to support this form, which is limited. We want to have it be free so people can kind of come up with their own functions and actions. So Blockly is block-based drag and drop programming. And so we've integrated that into Adafruit.io. So now you can have nested, complicated blocks. We're working on the nesting part a little bit, but you can have blocks that you drag and drop to define the behavior you want, and you'll be able to kind of do whatever you can have like a much richer language of what capabilities you want Adafruit IO to have, because you're not limited by whatever we programmed into this form. And we also have to we don't have to maintain this form anymore. So it's like a twofer. So I think Blockly is really neat because it's really easy, it's well defined. And I think it works well with the kind of thought process that people have for cloud services. So check it out. It's very new. We have it's right now we have a very like limited capability, but we're going to be expanding it soon. We just wanted to replicate the behavior we already had. That said, it's free to use. It comes with Adafruit IO. Try it out. Only SMSs you have to use IO Plus because we have to pay for SMSs. But for just email sending and stuff, it's built in, and you can use the Blockly actions right now. Okay.
What else?
Next up, we have this really cool case. I think we have a video for it. A case for the new Itsy Bitsy ESP32. And Liz wrote a guide on the Itsy Bitsy ESP32, including using web workflow with CircuitPython. Yeah, we have CircuitPython support for the ESP32. Did you know that? Well, we do. And you can use web REPL and web file editing. So you don't even have to do like a thing that uploads files over the command line if you don't want.
Okay, so more guides as we march to 3,000. Let's do some factory footage. And it's a glimpse into the factory. Let's do some 3D printing. We're going to play these videos back to back, and then we're going to go right over to IO.MPI afterwards. Take it away, knowing Pedro.
This is the new Adafruit Itsy Bitsy featuring the ESP32 Wi-Fi Pico module. It comes in two flavors, one with a WFL antenna connector and the other with a PCB antenna. These come packed with goodies like 8 MB of flash, 2 MB of PS RAM, 20 GPIO, and a StemmaQT connector. They also feature Bluetooth Classic, BLE, and an ultra low-power deep sleep mode. With a Wi-Fi connection, you can use CircuitPython web workflow to program and debug your dev board. This works great with any Wi-Fi enabled computer or mobile device. It's also compatible with the WLED firmware, so you can build advanced lighting projects with NeoPixel LEDs. The CircuitPython web workflow lets you upload and browse files on your Wi-Fi enabled dev board. You can also view and edit text files, making minor edits quick and easy. You can use Adafruit's Web Serial ESP tool to install firmware over a USB connection using the Google Chrome browser. For all the details and documentation, check out the product guide on learn.adafruit.com. The CircuitPython web workflow is in beta, but it's open to the public. It supports most of Adafruit's Wi-Fi dev boards, so it's definitely worth checking out. You can 3D print our SnapFit case for the Itsy Bitsy ESP32 to keep it protected and mounted to your project. The board press fits into the case and gets secured with a mounting plate using fasteners. You can secure additional sensors and display breakouts to the top cover using the built-in mounting slots. With StemmaQT, you can daisy chain I2C breakouts and plug them directly to the Itsy Bitsy ESP32, so no soldering is required. For antenna users, you can panel mount a WFL antenna to the special case. With access to the header pins, you can connect external components using socket jumper cables or even a breadboard. We hope this video inspires you to check out Adafruit's new Itsy Bitsy ESP32 for your next Wi-Fi enabled project.
And that's some 3D printing. Okay, a little reminder before we go off the NPI, don't forget to go to Switch. Get free stuff. And it's still not too late to subscribe to Inbox as we get the last ones out the door. Let's kick it off with the NPI.
On NPI.
New product introductions brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. This week is Ladyada. What is new product introduction NPI this week?
Well, I'm excited to have a new vendor on INPI. I always love, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the STs and the TIs and the analog devices, but once in a while you get something new. Tried Semiconductor. So this was featured on digikey.com/new. This is the TS4631. Make sure I get the part number right because I have a couple in the family. And this is an infrared light analog front end specifically for VR and AR uses. So this company, this is from their website for Triad. They're kind of like the specialty ASIC maker that makes the chips that are used for tracking devices in AR and VR, but also might be useful for other kinds of 3D tracking, which we'll talk about. So even if you're not like making an AR or VR product, but especially if you are, this product might be interesting to you. So the TS4631 is the latest in generation of their light to digital converter. And basically, you know, at the bottom right, you see how you connect it up. It's kind of the usage diagram. You have this chip, you give it a couple little passives, you give it a big IR photodiode, and then it can send the envelope and data from infrared lighthouse transmitters to a microcontroller, ideally one that has you know, wireless connectivity like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or Zigbee, that can then be used to track the item with millimeter precision in a 3D space like a room. This chip is used primarily in the HTC Vive or Vive. Man, I don't know how to say it. I'm going to say Vive, but I could be wrong. The VR system that you can even see, like there's these little divots in all of these little products, and that's where the infrared receivers would be. And then the two things in the top right and top left, those little square roundish boxes, those are what are called lighthouses. And they look, and it's a beautiful Creative Commons, I thought, public domain photo of a lighthouse. They work just like a lighthouse works, where inside is those boxes are these really bright infrared lights. So you don't see them with human eyes, but sensors can see them. And this is from the presentation from Alan Yates, who I guess worked on developing those base stations. This is actually not what it looked like in the end. This is, I think, a prototype. But basically, there's like these really bright infrared IR lights, and then there's X and Y scanning motors, which you can see like in that photo, and the lights are on the top and the left, and the bottom and the right are the scanning motors. And the scanning motors rotate consistently at I think like 30 hertz and flash the infrared light around the room as a line. So basically scanning the room. And so what you would do is, you know, you connect the photodiode to this chip. And it, you know, at first it flashes the lighthouse flashes, you know, a big sync pulse to get everything to be like, okay, you know, I'm about to send you this X and Y scanning pulse. And then the sensor looks for the X and Y scanning pulse and measures how much time it took from the sync pulse to the X and Y pulse to get to it. And then, you know, this is from a homebrew interface for these lighthouses from Trammell Hudson using some math. And you can see like, you know, these envelope pulses on the bottom there. You can see he's got 4 boards with the earlier version of this Triad chip. I think he's got the TS4231. And you see the little photodiodes, the big silver things in the center there. You get the pulse and envelope data, and you can see it being graphed out. And, you know, you do a bunch of matrix math, which is documented here in a couple of other libraries if you don't want to figure out the math yourself. And then you can get within like a couple millimeter precision XY coordinates using only 2 lighthouses, although you can have up to 4. And then you have a base station that you can communicate to and say, I know where I am in XYZ space. A lot cheaper than you would do with ultra wideband, because infrared light is going to be a lot cheaper than having 4 radio transmitters that are trying to do time of flight. And you can do time of pulse distance a lot easier than time of flight as well. And this chip is actually, this is the latest generation, the 4631, builds on the 4231. I saw this person who did some teardowns on social media of various controllers for Steam VR. And this is like, as of like 2023, this is what everyone's using. This new generation is a lot lower power, has like good deep sleep modes, but you can see it's like a very small chip, very easy to use. And then you can see the photodiode is much larger than the chip itself, and even all the passives. And this is basically, I think chip code compatible, but a smaller die and lower power usage. So this is how it works. And, I think even Trammell Hudson in his write-up, which I linked to in the text for this video in this post, he kind of shows like you could build this all with analog electronics, but it would just really suck because you have to do like gain management and offsets and detecting the envelope, detecting the data coming out. So what's nice about the TS4631 is even if you have a powerful M33 microcontroller or whatever, you still want to have all of the analog stuff handled on this chip and done very small and very inexpensively. And it's a 0.4 millimeter BGA 9-pin, but thankfully the middle pin is ground, which is shared with another analog ground. Thank you. Love that, because it means you can do this on 2-layer board without any like buried or blind vias. Even though it's 0.4 millimeter pitch, that is not the issue. It's usually getting that middle pin out, but they made it really easy to integrate. And then the 2 output pins that give you the envelope and the data are also used for the configuration. So it uses I2C. There's like one 16-bit register that you can write to, and this is the sleep modes, the gain modes, various thresholds you can configure, or you can use the defaults. You do need to configure it to start. Like it won't just like boot immediately into usage because it starts up in sleep mode. Like normal sleep behavior, you have to tell it to be enabled. So mode 1 or mode 2. So, you do have to use the I2C, even if you're not planning to use any of the other register bits. As I mentioned, this is an upgrade to the 4231. I saw Triad Semi has a GitHub repo, and they do have a library from a while ago for the 4231, the original version of this chip. You can probably use it as the basis for your library on the 4631. I also saw there's a lot of people doing cool DIY VR hacking with this chip. And so, I'm sure if you want to make an official product that uses the VR headset technology, you can, talk to Triad, or you can talk to Steam VR, you can talk to HTC and sign developer agreement with them. But if you also want to do your own thing, DIY something with AR or VR without necessarily going through the development process, you can buy these chips, and the stuff isn't under NDA. It's fully publicly documented. You can follow along with some of these projects and guides, including this really cool white paper that basically shows how to make like a full 3D positioning system. There's also from CN Lorne, he wrote libsurvive, which is a Python library runs on desktop that will do all the 3D calculations for you to create your own trackable objects without, again, having to purchase a tracker. You can make small ones that use your own technology stack and your own sensors. So I think really neat. So check it out. It's in stock. Don't forget you need that photodiode. But very cool. I think could be useful for drones, could be used for interactive art, could be used for like any internal tracking where the cost of the trackable device is can be made for under $5 bill of material.
All right, and that's this week's on MPI.
On MPI.
Okay, we're going to go off to new products. Don't forget, switch the code, 10% off the native restore. Ladyada, what is new this week?
Okay. Okay, coming soon by popular demand, the high voltage version of our UPDI friend. Look at this beauty. So we have the UPDI friend that we put in the store a couple weeks ago that lets you program your favorite AT-Tiny UPDI programmable chips, but will not give you that 12-volt pulse needed to unbrick chips that were fused to use the UPDI pin for reset or GPIO. Now, most people don't need that, but if you do need that because you want to use that GPIO or you have a chip that requires the high voltage pulse, this is a similar UPDI programmer, but has a little boost converter, gives you the 12 volts, and then when the RTS serial line toggles, which the UPDI serial programmer will do automatically on serial port open, you'll get that pulse, and it'll let you program the chip. So very handy.
Next up.
Okay, sort of combo from last week and then this week, we have these beautiful RGB W NeoPixel neon strips that run on 5 volts. Finally, we had a 12-volt version and it was a little annoying because, you probably don't have 12 volts hanging around. This one is 5 volts friendly. It's like 144 pixels per meter. And as you see in the animation, it has full RGB control, pixel control across, and then either cool white or warm white. You'll see if after a nice beautiful warm white LED as well, so you can get both extremely colorful color changes or white pixels. Don't forget to set your mode to RGBW on your controller, but it's otherwise NeoPixel compatible and 5-volt friendly, which I love.
All right, and then the star of the show tonight, besides you, Ladyada, our customers, our community, the Adafruit team, the staff, everybody who makes and shares and makes this whole thing go is...
Dun, dun, dun. It's the Max 4544 analog switch. This is by special request from AT makers, but I thought other people could also use this handy board. So we sell relay boards that will let you like mechanically switch between, two options in one, common connection. So normally open, common, normally closed, and you can switch between the two. But relays, first off, they're a little slow. Second, they click. Third, they use a lot of power. And fourth, they eventually wear out. If you want to switch analog voltage signals, you might use an analog switch instead. So this is a Stemma board. So it uses a Stemma JST PH, not a QT. It's a 2mm pitch connector. Or you can use the breakout pins on the bottom. And you provide it with V+, which is the highest voltage that you could put through the analog signal that you want to, the normally open or common or normally closed. You give it a signal, and then the signal, when it's high, one side is connected. When it's low, the other side is connected. You can flip between the two. And it's perfect for analog signals like NTSC or PAL or audio or sensor data. What it's not good for is power. It's not a mechanical connection. It's a analog pass-through connection with MOSFETs on the other side. And so you're not going to get you're not going to get full electrical isolation. Of course, the ground is still shared. And second, you can't source power through it. It's only for signals. But if you want to like move a signal around, like audio is a perfect example, you want to switch one connection between two channels or two channels between one. The connections are bidirectional, but analog only. And like I said, signal, not power. And then another thing to watch for is you can't have the signals go negative. They have to be between ground and V+. So something to watch out for too. But otherwise, there's no mechanical connection. It's like nearly instantaneous. It's like 25 nanoseconds to switch. There's no wearing out. There's no noise. There's no clicking. And very low RDS on. I think only like 2 to 6 ohms of resistance that you can detect. So it could be really handy for people doing analog switching. You want like a joystick signal or a potentiometer signal. You want to move, like I said, audio or video. These are common things that people are moving around. Maybe some sensor signal you want to move between 2 op amps or something. The analog switch will do a great job for you there.
All right, and that is new products. Okay, we're going to do some top secret, then we're going to answer your questions. We have a bunch that are lined up. Don't forget to go to Switch. You can put your questions there. If you already put it there, don't worry, I got it. You can put it there again if you want. Don't worry. Let's do some top secret, and then we're going to roll right into your questions. From the vault.
Okay, lots more Trinkies.
Yeah.
You're wondering why so many Trinkies? Because I have a lot of at SMD21 E18s and I gotta get rid of them. So no, I'm just kidding. I do have a lot, but I also had these Trinkies that were waiting for me to have SMD21Es in stock because they make for great Trinkies. Look at the bottom, there's almost nothing on there. This has a NeoPixel, and on the other side, a little thumbstick. I think these are the same thumbsticks used on the PS Vita. Anyways, they're compatible. They don't have a press in, but they do have XY analog input. So you can plug this in. You have a little joystick connected to your USB port. Maybe it would act like a mouse, or maybe it would just give you XY coordinates over serial port. I don't know. Find out. Next, I've designed many more Pico bells, or Pico bell compatibles. This is an underplate. So if you go to the previous, you can plug the Pico on top. It plugs right in, so there's no soldering required, and you get a reset button and a stem QT port, and then each pin is doubled. There's like 2 rows on the header, so you can plug in wires. So it makes it easy. There's a little prototyping area on the middle.
Okay.
And then a doubler. So it's like now you want like a Pico and then a Pico bell on the other side. And then the other side has battery charging and an enable switch on off. So this would be really good for like wireless projects where we have a battery charger and you want to be able to turn it off. This is a camera Pico bell. So we do have camera support for the RP2040 for using like the OV5640 or OV2640 or whatever. The problem is that the wiring is a total nightmare, and so this kind of does all the wiring for you. It uses a lot of pins, but you get full color camera with JPEG or RGB output, and then there's a little micro SD slot. You can save your images, a little button for like a shutter, and then all the power supply stuff you need to use it. And then finally, people really like this one. This was a thing I just tossed off really quickly. I took the ESP32 S2 feather and took the S2 off, and I replaced it with the C6. This is the new Wi-Fi 6 and Zigbee/Thread/Matter module from Espressif. We do have some CircuitPython support for it, although I don't think we have any Zigbee support or any coming soon. In fact, I think the Zigbee isn't even in Arduino yet. It's only in the IDF. This is like your standard feather. Not as many pins on the little mini module, but I kind of squoze out enough to give you, analog pins, SPI, I2C. Only 2 pins are shared between like the digital and the analog. I have to share 2 pins, but you have a low power pin, so disabling the second LDO that powers the NeoPixel and I2C port, and then a BME 280, and then a battery monitor. So this is kind of like a nice, like, you could make for a really good Matter development board.
And that's top secret.
New top secret. Get in the vault.
All right, we're going to go straight to your questions that you
Okay.
asked about in the chat. Ladyada, we're going to get through these.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool.
Okay, first up, need device. Have a 7-inch screen on synth. I need to point a camera down at the screen and HDMI the video out to a flat panel. This is because I'm going blind and need to increase reading area. I cannot read the synth 7-inch screen. Frontal lens and mag glass is no good. Any suggestions on the camera module and lens? I have Raspberry Pi EPs and 2040s, all from Adafruit, but always a newbie. Thank you.
Yeah, a Raspberry Pi can drive HDMI output, so you can drive like a big monitor and just run like there's like a our Pi camera demo that whatever's on the camera goes to HDMI, and you would just put it on you'd mount it onto something so it's like fixed. You know what I mean? And then it would output that to HDMI, and then you would just put on like a gigantic monitor. You might need to put a polarizer on it so you don't get reflection. It's the only thing I can think of. But I don't see why that wouldn't work.
Yeah. You could also get a little projector. Project it somewhere.
Well, HDMI, you can do whatever.
Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking of a remote cable for Memento. Do you think one of your A and O encoders could be used to control the buttons and the ring to change the focus.
Absolutely. You'd have to add the code yourself, but there's like, it's really simple to update the code to, I think we have I think we did, one of the projects we did was using Touch OSC to do remote control of the camera. And so instead of having the commands come in from Wi-Fi, you just have it come in from this rotary encoder.
Okay, next up. Any recommendations for ESP32 for a flipper expansion board, Wi-Fi dev?
I don't know. Sorry, good question. I don't know how you would do the connectivity. Sorry.
Would this board be good for automotive relays?
It would not be good for it would be good for any up to 12-volt analog signal. So it depends on like what you're switching. Like it wouldn't be good for power, but it would be good for like, oh, I want to route audio from one spot to another spot in my car.
Another one. Can the new analog switch act like a relay?
It's not a relay. It's like it's a solid state switch. So it can be used in some cases where relay can be used, and relay can be used in some cases where this can be used. There's some overlap, but they're not interchangeable.
Okay. Next up, is there an I3C version of the MCP 23017? I would like to build an organ keyboard.
I don't think that Microchip has any I3C expanders yet. You could ask them, but you should probably be able to use I2C. I don't think you need I3C to build a keyboard.
Okay. Next up, are we getting closer to lithium? What is that? Is that LO?
Yeah, lithium PO4. I don't know how to
Yeah,
pronounce it.
I don't know which. I don't know what the term they call
lithium iron. I don't know.
Yeah, PO4 batteries and charging them on microcontrollers. That's because I estimated longer life over LiPo and safety.
There are chips, but honestly, a lot of people they are heavier. A lot of people just prefer the smaller lipos. Like there aren't small, lead, lithium ferrite, whatever lithium.
Yeah,
iron.
the first thing I look up, they're gigantic.
They're bigger. They're used for skateboards, and they're used for
lithium iron phosphate.
Yeah, they're used for like skateboards or cars or stuff. They're not or go karts. Yeah, but they're still not thin. Like people like the pouchy lithium polymers. And these are not.
They're from microcontrollers.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, can you make an option for boards that come with pins unsoldered, pre-soldered for throws boards?
Don't know what throws boards is, but we're starting to add more products that have the headers pre-soldered, and so you're going to see that come in. It's a trade-off because some boards is like, well, you could have male headers or female headers, and we can't have 6 options. We have to like be reasonable about how much space we can show. But if you have particular requests for like, oh, I want to see this board with headers pre-soldered, email it to support at Adafruit, and we'll put it in the queue. There's a little like drop down in the support for like product suggestion.
Next up, on the TFT Featherwing, I noticed the CS lines have 100K pull-up resistors, was where this norm for I2C, but for SPI CS lines, question mark, that's the question. Is this normal convention for these CS lines? I was unaware of.
You can have anywhere from 10K, whatever, 4.7K to 100K is fine. But yes, you want to have the CS lines pulled up high, so they're disabled by default.
Here's a request. Plug and play USB host work for all our boards, either quick or iSpy connectors.
Okay.
Been trying to connect a USB keyboard to a MacroPad, but was told RP2040 can't connect that way. Needs USB host. Recommendations for any other host boards?
You can connect a USB host to MacroPad with RP2040 using our USB host library, but it's I don't know if it will work with the MacroPad firmware. It's a little more complicated than that. But check out, we have a Feather with USB host on it, and you could use that to like practice your development. And then you would have to wire up I guess you could use the STEM QT connector, maybe try to wire it up for USB host. It's non-trivial.
Yeah. Okay, someone else wanted the code again. Is the PCA 9685 good only for brushless motors? Why I tried using it for brush, could not get it to work.
Yeah, brush motors need a brush motor controller. They're different.
Okay. And I think we got all of those. A big chunk of questions.
Okay.
Go to work, Ladyada. Looking to communicate Home Assistant via CircuitPython project. Is MQTT the protocol of choice.
We have a Home Assistant CircuitPython project in Learn. Whatever we use there is definitely going to work.
All right. And I think we got all the questions.
Lot of questions.
Woo.
That was a lot.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. That was a bunch.
Don't forget to pick up something from the Adafruit shop.
Please do. The
And
code
subscribe to
is
Adafruit in a box.
which you get free stuff.
Yep.
And then if you go to adabox.com, you could still sneak in and get.
If
a
you want it
subscription
before
for the next one.
the next one, we
Yeah.
will run out. We don't have that many slots left over, so
Yeah.
but you have a small window of time until like next week, or we run out of slots to get into this one.
Yeah. So this is the window. And we also tried to, not heavily promote subscribe now because we wanted to get through all the first subscribers who've been patiently waiting during the chip shortage. And now's a good time, though, to subscribe. So thank you so much, everybody. We are an independent open source hardware company manufacturing in New York, woman owned. We pay our people and we try to have the best possible lives for everyone, benefits and paid time off and all the things that people love.
And then we give everything away.
Live and work balance and all that. But the only way we can keep this up is if you buy something in the store. So
stuff.
please do. We'll see everybody next week. This has been an Adafruit production. Here is your Mum Rosina. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.